Hi guys, today we're gonna do exam questions and answers on the poem Eating Poetry. Let's jump straight into it. So our first question is, identify and explain the figure of speech in the title. And this question counts 2 marks. The title of the poem is Eating Poetry, so that's pretty simple. So we would answer this question by first identifying the figure of speech, which is a metaphor. And now we're going to explain why it's a metaphor. It is a metaphor because the speaker compares intensive reading of poetry to eating it. He compares 2 things without using like or as. Let's look at the next question. Refer to stanzas 1 and 2. What has happened to the speaker? Quote in support of your answer. So here we need to quote from the text in order to get the full 3 marks. Let's take a look at the answer. The speaker has been caught eating poetry, and we know that eating poetry is a metaphor for reading poetry. But he is caught in the library by the librarian. So that's what happened to him. He was caught eating the poetry. And now we have to quote. And we see the quote, "The librarian does not believe what she sees." And another quote we could use to support our answer is, "I have been eating poetry." So here the speaker pretty much confesses to eating it. And then this quote over here tells us that the librarian has caught him doing this. So that's what happened to him in stanza 1 and 2. Let's do question 3. In terms of the extended metaphor, what happened to the poems that they are gone in line 7? So this question is pretty straightforward and it only counts 1 mark. This is what our answer would look like. They have all been eaten or read by the speaker. So in the poem, the speaker says the poems are all gone. And that just means he's eaten or read them all. Let's look at question 4. Comment on what the librarian symbolizes. Hint, refer to stereotyping. So our answer should look something like this. A librarian is stereotyped to be a bookworm who is surrounded by literature. So here we address the stereotyping. Now we need to explain it. But in the poem, the librarian finds the speaker's passion for poetry to be strange. So it's quite funny because she should love poetry and literature, but she finds that the speaker is strange because he's really passionate about it. So therefore it seems as if the librarian symbolizes people who witness someone else being passionate, fulfilled, and experiencing enjoyment, but can't seem to understand it or experience it themselves, even though they are surrounded by what they love. Let's look at question 5. Explain what happens in the poem from the librarian's perspective. So here we're just going to explain how the librarian sees things, and we are going to explain it for 3 marks. The librarian is shocked when she first sees the speaker eating poetry. When the speaker starts to see strange things, she stamps her feet and weeps because she does not understand what is happening to him. The speaker behaves like a dog and licks her hand. She screams because she is frightened by his behavior. So to the librarian, the speaker seems really strange. Question 6. Identify the idea the poet is trying to convey in the first and last stanzas. Quote to support your answer. This is a 3-mark question. The speaker is happy in both stanzas. This is the idea the speaker gives us. And he gives us this idea by saying the words, "No happiness like mine," and "romp with joy." Question 7 asks, list the effects that eating poetry has had on the speaker. This is also a 3-mark question. Firstly, eating poetry has made the speaker feel extremely happy. That's the first effect it has. Secondly, it has transformed him into a new man. That's the second effect. And lastly, it has affected his behavior and caused him to behave like a dog. I snarl and bark. So here we've given 3 ways in which the poetry has affected the speaker. Question 8. Refer to lines 9 to 12. Account for the change in mood created in these lines. This is a 4-mark question. The light-hearted and joyful mood of the poem changes from when the poet expresses just how happy he is after eating poetry. So initially, the poet is very happy once he's eating the poetry. But then we see a change in the mood, and it changes to being chaotic and horrific. And this is because the speaker describes the scary dogs coming up the basement stairs. Question 9. Identify the overall tone of the poem. So the overall tone of the poem is joyful, exuberant, and liberating. Question 10. Why is this poem labeled as surreal? Quote from the poem to support your answer. This is worth 2 marks. The poem contains strange and surreal imagery, such as the speaker who eats poetry. I have been eating poetry. And the nightmarish descriptions he makes of dogs coming up the basement stairs. Their eyeballs roll. So here we see surreal images, and it makes it seem as if this poem is actually a dream or a nightmare. That's why it's labeled as surreal. Thanks for watching, guys. If this has helped, please like and subscribe, and please leave me comments down below if you have any suggestions of other poems or content you would like to see on my channel. Thanks for watching. See you next time.